So once you've located the local WP install that you need, remember I have two of them rather there for you in the Google Drive. One of them is, and very probably the one that you want, is the Windows installer. That is the one that ends in a .exe. The other one is the Mac installer. The only one that I have put in that folder for the Mac installer is the M1 Mac. Those have been around for 3 or so years now. Actually, several years now, that's more accurate. It is probably the kind of Mac that you have. It's the Apple Silicon one. If it turns out that you need the download for the Intel Mac one, let's do this. Let me have you download it just because I'm having issues. And that way you'll have, it's faster probably to download it from the local WP site than it is to actually go through with Google Drive. They kind of penalize you for connecting there. So this is on a Windows machine, the very first thing that you would see. If you are on a Mac, I just tried this on my Mac over here. They're very, very similar. I have every expectation that you can be doing this without this video, but just in case, here it goes. So install it. I really do suggest you can just install it for whatever user you're on. If you've got a multi-user machine, that won't matter. It's my suggestion actually that you go through and uninstall this when we're done, just so that all of those funky little local host hooks that happen with local WP are removed, and I can be strictly speaking absolutely certain that we have not introduced any more security insecurities into your system as we have you do this. So go ahead and install it just for the user that you are on. Go ahead and just select whatever the ordinary path here is. And you'll see this is on a, I will call it a vintage machine. And it does take a moment to install. When I did this on one of my Macs, which is, like a middle of the road. Actually, that's not true. It's the cheapest Mac the law will allow you to purchase. It went much, much faster than this, but the install is pretty straightforward. Here it goes. Once the install finished, it really only took another several seconds that I had to edit out there. You are free to hit finish. You'll notice that I do have, and it is selected by default, the run local option. What that's going to do is, like it suggests, is run local WP on a server that's just running here, which is called localhost. Localhost is your browser running locally on essentially a very, very limited server. The only place you can reach that server is from here on your machine. That really makes the building and the testing environment and the saving and the save as environment and all of those things that we certainly could do by extending a domain to you so that you can do the administration there. It can all run here locally with no issues, and that really is a strength for you as a developer. That way you can control, you can maintain everything, and when you're ready, you simply push the last version instead of worrying about users inadvertently finding one of your test sites to use. It does happen. It's unusual, it's rare, but this is overall an extremely clean and extremely safe way for you to do the building and the testing. And frankly, it saves me from a ton of kind of needless administration that you guys now have the opportunity to explore. You did miss just in between the finishing of the initial installation to here. I did remove just a very, very small section there about updating the version of local WP. There was one available for my operating system, which was a little bit different than where I downloaded it from. That may or may not happen for you. It was pretty straightforward. There were also two screens right immediately before this about data sharing and privacy, so essentially error reporting. And you can choose to do that. You can choose to not do that. Typically speaking, I choose not to, but only because I've started becoming a stickler for like the terms of service and things. And if I don't feel like reading them, I simply do not share data. And frankly, at this point in time, I mostly do not share data. So that is up to you. I guess I do have a feeling one way or another. I would suggest you do not have to share that data. Right here as well, you can continue without creating the free account. It is my suggestion that you do the free account just in case later on down the road you want to do some cloud backups. By cloud backups, what you're able to do is connect this to GitHub, a little bit similar to what we'll be doing here with the setup a little bit later. It makes your life a little bit easier, but if you don't foresee continuing using local WP, if you don't foresee other than just creating the portfolio that we'll be doing for class, and your interest in distributing it is marginal to minimal, you can actually continue without creating the free account here, and you'll be just fine. I do have an account. I am going to sign in, but you do not have to. It will function just the same. Now, if you have chosen to either create your username and password with LocalWP or simply hit the X in the upper right-hand corner and skip away from it, this particular install, I did skip away from it. This is the screen that you will be greeted with. We are going to create at least two, but probably more, just depending on how things shake out with your the level of satisfaction that you have with any of your different projects. You can create individual sites. Here, you'll notice I am covering it up with my face here. In the lower left-hand corner, there's the plus button. That is how you would create a new site. If you've already created a site, what you would see is little local directories for that right here. So I'm going to go ahead and click Create a New Site. I'm going to give it a name, Test Site 1, Test Site 1. And we're going to go ahead and continue. Just the preferred version is just fine through here. What I will tell you is this lines up exactly with what you will see in the video series for what we can do with the administrative stuff once we come in through here. Now, you would set up here a WordPress username and a WordPress password. Those are going to be for you to sign in to manage your own local accounts. Now, is it a good idea to put in administrator as your administrator name? It's a terrible idea to put in administrator as your administrator name. You should put in something that has meaning to you that you won't forget. That's not necessarily some combination of your first name and your last name, etc. The same goes with your password. Remember, once we have a website set up, the end goal is to have it on the internet. Now, for what we do, that's not going to mean the entire structure that a WordPress administration would actually have with it. What you guys will end up uploading is just the assets that are associated with this. So the actual web stuff, the HTML, the CSS, the JavaScript, and the images. But putting admin in here as your username is baby playtime, simple to be able to discover later on by bad actors on the internet. And let some of our other instructors, Josh Glavinsky, Stephanie Washer, tell you about the density of bad actors on the internet. So it is my suggestion to pick an innocuous username for your administrator to pick a difficult to guess password for your password. And then frankly, whatever that email is, you can leave that here. That's something that you could change later on. It is just the default that comes with this. Certainly we would want to change that, but because your sites aren't going to be live in that way, there's no reason here to attach a real email with it. I've gone through and done what I need to do for the administrator name and the password. Here, when you see any of the pop-ups that come along here for allowing access to run on your PC, do allow it access. Remember, again, it is all what is referred to as local host. It gives a 127.0.0 IP address, which I understand doesn't mean anything to you. That's okay at this point. But that local host address is only resolvable on your PC. So what that means is you cannot get to that server from the outside. It all runs right here on the back side, which is your side, the side that is not facing the internet, and that gives us a really solid measure of protection against, again, all those bad actors that are there on the internet. You will notice here that it is downloading and adding WordPress. This is automatically configuring all the things that you will see in that video series. It is doing the setup for you automatically, which is advantageous. It's in your best interest because of all the installations that you are going to do for WordPress. Probably they're not going to have custom installs. You're just going to do the base installations and then add custom components to it later on. This ends up saving you a ton of time. This only took another few moments past me describing what was happening there. All in all, less than 8 minutes have elapsed since the time I downloaded the LocalWP install and here, and that includes all the extra layers of BS that happens when I make videos. I don't get to stare into lights otherwise if I'm just installing it at home by myself. So this is what you would see when everything has been installed properly. If you choose the open site option here that you see in the upper right hand corner, that's going to simply show you in a browser what your site is going to look like. If you click on WP admin, it's going to ask you to sign in, and it is at that point going to start acting like a local WordPress installation, which is exactly what we wanted it to do.